We would begin with a crunch time phone call for the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump as the US President threatens heavy American tariffs on our steel.
Let's go live to Today Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels in Canberra. Liz, good morning. When will the leaders speak?
Good morning, Carl and Sarah. It'll be this afternoon our time, and it's a major test of Anthony Albanese's power of persuasion. The US President was on his way to the Super Bowl yesterday when he dropped this bombshell, claiming he intends to slap a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminium coming into the US, potentially impacting more than $1 billion of Australian metal exports. Now, this phone call was already booked in, but it will be the first time the two leaders have spoken since the Prime Minister congratulated Donald Trump on his election win back in November. Anthony Albanese will be looking to see if he can secure a carve-out of Australia from any tariffs that do get imposed. Part of his argument will be pointing to our AUKUS defence pact with the US, our trade surplus with America, and the fact Australian steel company BlueScope is already employing thousands of people in the US and looking to expand. Now, Carl and Sarah, it's not clear if the Prime Minister's call will take place before a formal announcement from the US yet, but so often what Donald Trump does and what he says are two different things. So we wait and we watch and we see what happens on what will be a pivotal day in the relationship between our two countries.
Yeah, it sure will be, Liz. Thank you.
Now to some breaking news from Melbourne, where 3 people have been arrested after a spate of burglaries at 6 RSLs across the city. Live to Today Melbourne reporter Isabella Stashkovsky at Pascoe Vale. Isa, these people are facing multiple charges.
They certainly are, Jane. Good morning to you. We now know that a 38-year-old man, a 31-year-old woman and a 33-year-old woman have all been charged. And they've all been charged with multiple offences. Police allege that between early January up until early February, they were targeting these venues, going into them, stealing cash and other personal objects on premises. They were targeting really quite a large variety of venues here in Pascoe Vale, as well as places like Brunswick and Box Hill and Greensboro. At a number of venues, it's also alleged that they interfered with telecommunications devices and security systems in order to gain access. They have now been charged and are awaiting the further prosecution. We understand that they will be in court, Jane, in April.
Isa, thank you. Now to a Today weather alert. Another severe storm is predicted to smash Sydney just a day after the city copped torrential rain. Live to Today Sydney reporter Jack Hahn in Pyrmont for us. Jack, could this storm cause even more flash flooding?
Well, it could, Jane, and that is certainly the fear this morning. Good morning to you. We are expecting showers to set in from about 12 o'clock onwards, and then another severe thunderstorm to arrive sometime this afternoon. We're expecting rainfall totals from about 25 millimetres of rain, but getting upwards of 100 and 200 millimetres in isolated areas, according to some weather forecasters. And boy, didn't we see a whole lot of rain yesterday. We are talking about 77 millimetres of rain falling on Horsley Park in Western Sydney in just 1 hour. The torrential rain sending several suburbs underwater. Pyrmont, from where we're joining you from this morning, was one of the hardest hit locations, with the road outside the fish markets going underwater. The SES responding to 500 calls for help and performing 20 flood rescues. But perhaps the biggest blow in yesterday's afternoon storm was the fact that the internet went out for some customers subscribed to the NBN through Kogan and Vodafone. Jane, thankfully, I can report this morning that the internet is back online.
OK, Jack, thank you. We have breaking news now out of Melbourne's east, where 5 teenagers have been arrested after a spate of burglaries and a carjacking. Officers on the ground and in the air tracked the teenagers, who used 2 allegedly stolen cars to carry out their crime spree before they were stopped with road spikes. 5 boys aged between 13 and 16 have been taken into custody for questioning. Now to breaking news in the Middle East. Hamas says it is postponing the release of more hostages, accusing Israel of violating the terms of their ceasefire deal. Live to Europe correspondent Hannah Sinclair. Hannah, what's happened?
Good morning, Jane. Well, Hamas was supposed to release more hostages on Saturday as part of the ceasefire agreement, but it says that has been postponed until future notice. In a statement, a spokesperson for Hamas claims over the past 3 weeks, Israel's violated the deal by delaying the return of displaced Palestinians to the northern Gaza Strip and targeting them with shelling and gunfire. Israel's government's responded by saying the delay is a complete violation of the ceasefire agreement and the deal to release the hostages. It's instructed the IDF to prepare at the highest level of alert for any possible scenario in Gaza and to protect the communities. This is devastating news for the families of the hostages still in captivity, and they're urgently requesting help from the mediating countries to get this ceasefire deal back on track. 33 Israeli hostages were supposed to be released as part of phase 1 of the deal, but only half of them have so far been freed. The families say the state of the hostages released over the weekend leaves no doubt that time is of the essence. But Jane, this is a delicate and complex ceasefire, and right now it is on very shaky ground.
Okay, Hannah, thank you. A fire has broken out at a shop in Melbourne's southeast. Firefighters arriving at the scene in Springvale around 1:20 this morning, with crews quickly extinguishing the flames. The shop is vacant, with police treating the blaze as suspicious. More than a dozen people have died on South Australian roads this year. 35-year-old Daniel Wood, now the 16th life lost after his car hit a pole north of Adelaide. The popular football player was driving along Yulee Road in One Tree Hill when his station wagon crashed, the impact splitting the vehicle in half. He is being remembered as a compassionate person with unwavering loyalty. Cassius Turvey's murder trial has begun in the WA Supreme Court more than 2 years after the 15-year-old was allegedly beaten with a metal pole. A prosecutor labelling the series of events leading up to the schoolboy's death as remarkable, saying he was set upon over a dispute that didn't even involve him in Middle Swan. 89 witnesses are set to testify throughout the 10-week trial. Severe weather warnings have been issued for the tropical coast of North Queensland, forecasting up to 300 millimetres of rain in just 24 hours. It follows flooding on Monday, which has made for a massive clean-up effort in Ingham.
There you are nobody. Here we got a little community, we look after each other.
Is expected to move east tonight to around Georgetown and then further east on Tuesday towards the Townsville coastal area. We're going to see more water pumping into those river systems over the next 24 to 48 hours.
The Olera Creek Bridge between Townsville and Ingham is staged to reopen for emergency services, with general traffic allowed to cross this afternoon. CCTV has captured the moment 2 masked men rammed a news agency in Brisbane's southeast. The thieves smashed through the shop front with a Holden sedan in Oxley, using an angle grinder to seize $50,000 worth of cigarettes.
It's horrible. This is like the second time this has happened in the last 6 months, and they're always targeting cigarettes. They've destroyed like the whole front part of the newsagent this time. It's very hard to get back on track every single time this happens.
The sedan continued to run rampant alongside neighbouring businesses. Police are yet to locate the 2 people involved. We're learning new details this morning about an organised street fight in Sydney's west that's left one man clinging to life and another behind bars. Witnesses claiming the 28-year-old victim was standing up for a 15-year-old who was being bullied when he was allegedly set upon in South Granville.
One of the lady was screaming and telling everyone to stop hitting him.
He was bleeding pretty badly from the head. When the cops did show up, he started bleeding from the nose and the mouth.
A 29-year-old man will face Parramatta Court today, charged with a fray and having a knife. Chaos has unfolded in Sydney's west after 2 cars collided along Bourke Street at Smithfield. The force of the crash sending one car spinning into a power pole, while another mounted a footpath and smashed into the front bedroom of a house. Neither driver or the residents inside the home were injured. Restrictions on egg purchases will remain in place indefinitely across the country after a new strain of bird flu broke out at a farm in northeast Victoria. Coles and Woolworths are limiting purchases to 2 cartons per customer amid uncertainty over whether the disease has spread to other farms. Around 76,000 chickens will have to be euthanised. The price of tuck shop lunches is putting a hole in the pockets of Victorian parents, with the state's canteens ranking the most expensive in the country. The cost of a school canteen lunch is around $9, which is $1.55 more expensive than the national average. Research by Flexi School also found canteen purchases twice a week equated to the same price as lunches packed daily.